Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. This episode is brought to you by Kalshi. Use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10. I'm Dave Gasper. The Brewers get the sweep over the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll get into that. Also, we got more background on the Abner Uribe DX chop at the St. Louis Cardinals dugout the other day. We were kind of getting the whole story on how that came about, why that came about. Also, an update on Quinn Priester, who had another rehab start, and once again, it did not go well. We'll get into that. Also, a discussion on the closer's role as it kind of leads into there. But first, what a win for the Brewers on Wednesday afternoon. To be able to come back and win that game, it felt like they stole that victory. Christian Yelich mentioned that after the game. He's like, look, it kind of felt like we stole that one. The Brewers were no hit for 7 innings by Dustin May. And May has had, quite the up and down career with quite a few downs, largely due to injury for him. He's bounced around. He kind of came up with the Dodgers, was a highly touted prospect. Hasn't really kind of been able to figure things out and has bounced around a little bit, but found a home there in St. Louis and having one of the best outings of his career and really just dominating the Brewers throughout the entirety of that game through those 7 innings. They weren't able to get anything going. They only had like 4 hard-hit balls all game against them, so they were really struggling there until the 8th inning. That's when Garrett Mitchell got things going with a double to left, just over the outstretched glove of Brian Torres, who honestly, I thought could have jumped a little bit higher, could have tried a little bit harder to catch that baseball. It seemed catchable, but ends up going over his head, going for a double, and Brewers get their first hit of the game. Luis Rengifo drops down a beautiful bunt that ends up going for a base hit. Miscommunication on the the Cardinals' part, allowing Rengifo to reach. So it's runners at the corners, and that is when Ali Marmol decided to go to the bullpen and get Dustin May out of there. And then the Brewers, they ended up being able to punch a couple of runs across. But, Sal Frelick did not get the job done. Grounded out to first, or grounded into a fielder's choice at first base. Garrett Mitchell stayed at third. Smartly, the contact play was not on, which was nice to see because Mitchell would have been absolute dead meat at home plate. So he stayed put, stayed alive there. Andrew Vaughn pinch hit for David Hamilton. Wise call on the part of Pat Murphy, but Andrew Vaughn watched strike 3 go right by. So you end up with 2 outs and runners at the corners, and it's like, look, this is your shot here to get into this game. And who comes through? Christian Yelich, because of course he did. Base hit up the middle. Brewers end up tying the game. Frelick goes to third. And then Mason Wynn, who had been fantastic defensively, made a great play in the 5th inning to rob Sal Frelick of a base hit to keep that no-hitter alive. Then Jackson Chourio hit the ground ball a little bit to his left, and Mason Wynn going for it, boots the baseball, allowing the second run to score and the Brewers to take the lead, and they end up holding that 2-1 lead and get the win over the Cardinals, get the sweep over the Cardinals to jump out to a 4.5 game lead in the NL Central. Dispatching the Cubs, dispatching the Cardinals, sweeping both of those teams. The Brewers have just been on an absolute roll in this month of May, and they are putting themselves in a very good spot as we enter the stretch run here beginning in June. So, a really, really good win for the Brewers. And you also have to give credit to the pitching staff here, keeping this close. While the Brewers were being no hit for 7 innings, Chad Patrick only gave up the 1 run in his 4 innings. He ended up being the one to get the start for this game. So it ends up being Chad Patrick, and then Shane Drowan follows for 2 innings. So as we kind of talked about in yesterday's show, it was going to be some combination of Drowan and Patrick. Patrick goes first, goes 4. Drowan goes 2, and does really well, is able to lock it down. Aaron Ashby comes in. He locks it down for 2 innings as well, and then hands it off to Trevor McGill for the 9th inning, and he closes it down. We'll also be talking about that here as well. But Aaron Ashby, being the pitcher of record when the Brewers take the lead, he gets his 9th win of the season. The most in baseball, just absolutely insane. How many wins he has on his record, just pitching as a reliever. You don't see it, you haven't seen it a lot previously, But if we're ever going to see another 20-game winner or 30-game winner or anything like that, it's going to have to be a reliever. Who knows? Maybe Aaron Ashby could be that guy, but he is on a 27-win pace at this point in the season, which is incredible. And the Brewers are very happy to get him that win. Chad Patrick talking about it. Hey, great to see the boys get some runs in the 8th and get Ashby the win. Christian Yelich is like, look at him. He's all smiling and happy over there. He's just enjoying it. They're all loving seeing Ashby vulture some of these wins. But great job, great win by the Brewers all around. The pitching being able to get the work done, and the offense being able to stay in it just enough there, despite being no hit for 7 innings. So that ends up being the victory there, because it was looking like the Cardinals were going to have the upper hand for this one, coming out of the Abner Uribe DX chop that we saw on Tuesday. Now, with that whole thing, we were talking about it on Wednesday's show. It was like, look, he said that the Cardinals were signaling that they were intending to hit the Brewers, and there was some incident pregame that he would not comment about, that we didn't really know about. So as the morning kind of unfolded here on Wednesday, we were able to talk to all the parties involved and get a clearer picture of what actually happened leading up to this. So apparently, during the 4th inning on that first game on Monday, the Cardinals could clearly tell that the Brewers had figured out some of their signs, and they were relaying them to their hitters. The Cardinals saw that the Brewers were relaying signs to the hitters from the dugout, and they were very upset about that. So instead of fixing their own issues and trying to make sure the Brewers don't have their signs, Ali Marmol, staring down the Brewers dugout, points at them, is basically like, you guys better be smart, otherwise someone's going to get hurt. Like my guys, like they're going to do something and someone's going to get hurt, so be smart about it. Which is an interesting way to put it. And he's like, oh, that's all it was. That wasn't any sort of threat. I don't know. Sounds like a threat to me. Saying, be smart about it. Like, what do you mean be smart? They have been smart enough to figure out your signs very quickly, Ali Marmol. So maybe you got to be smarter and change things up so that the Brewers don't have them. Because if they figured it out and they're trying to let their guys know, do you have to be that subtle about it? Like, do you have to be more subtle? Hey, you can figure out our signs. You just can't, you just can't be telling everyone. You have to be very subtle so that we can't even tell that you've picked up our signs. So we're going to hit you. We might hit you instead of actually just fixing our own signs. So that doesn't make much sense to me from the Ali Marmol perspective. Like, they need to get kind of their house in order over there. But the Cardinals were very upset that the Brewers had figured out their signs. So he signaled, it's like, yeah, he pointed to his ribcage, saying someone might get hurt if that ends up happening. So it's like, okay. Christian Yelich, again, did not end up getting thrown at, and things just kind of went about from there. But then, Tuesday, pregame, there was an incident. There was a bit of a shouting match between Ali Marmol and Brewers hitting coach Daniel Vogelback. So Vogelback goes over, he's trying to talk to Marmol about the whole thing, like, hey, why are you threatening to plunk our guys? What's up with all that? And they're going back and forth on the whole sign relaying thing and hitting thing. And sure enough, it ends up, they end up kind of yelling at each other. Apparently, it slows down batting practice for a little bit, because everyone's like, whoa, hey, guys, what's going on here? This must have been after I just left the field. It wasn't any sort of large scrum. It wasn't sort of any sort of lengthy delay, it seemed like. But still, they got into it a little bit, and sure enough, that was the incident that Abner Uribe was referring to. Them trying to smooth over all those things, and that led to Uribe wanting to defend his teammates and doing the chop at him, which his teammates appreciated the thought behind it, but also were like, hey, man, like that's not how we're going to want to go about it. That's not the best way to do that. So they end up handling the issue. Christian Yelich talking pregame is just like, look, we've got the issue handled here. We've talked with the Cardinals clubhouse. They've talked with us. We've talked with Uribe. We've got this kind of all settled. We don't want any sort of shenanigans in the game on Wednesday. The Cardinals didn't want any shenanigans in the game. And sure enough, there were no shenanigans, which is probably to be expected. Every time you have those days where you think something's going to happen, is always a day nothing ends up happening for stuff like that. So we get a bit more of the story here behind why Uribe was so upset with the Cardinals and why he wanted to do the chop at him. But yeah, it's there was a little bit more something to it, and the Brewers and the Cardinals don't really seem to get along all that well, which is, I mean, given the history between the two organizations, that's not surprising. But that just continues to boil over there, and typically, according to both sides, I mean, these kinds of things happen quite a bit in terms of figuring out signs and trying to relay them, and some friction about all of that. But typically, we don't see such giant gestures that lead to all these questions about what was going on. So it's they believe the issue is done, and it should not interfere with anything anymore going forward. So that was good. There was a hit by pitch in the game, Jake Bauers, but it was a curveball. It was on it just barely clipped the front of his shoe. So it wasn't any sort of thing that looked like it had any sort of intent at all. So, excuse me, that was good as well. But yeah, and in terms of offense in this one, it was harder to come by. But even still, even with total bases, it doesn't mean that the Brewers still end up getting the win, which is the important part there. As we kind of talk about, as we do a lot of the times here with Kalshi, because on Kalshi you can trade every single game, and we are looking ahead now to what's coming up with the Brewers taking on the Houston Astros. Brewers flying out after the game on Wednesday here, so they're going to spend the off day in Houston, and then they're going to be getting going on Friday behind Coleman Crow, making his third start of the season. So that's going to be a go. And look, the last two times Coleman Crow has gone out there, he has pitched incredibly well. The Houston Astros have not been playing well at all this season. So as we look here on Kalshi, the Brewers are currently trading at a 54% chance to win this game, which is, I think, pretty good odds, pretty good chances there for this team. So Coleman Crow, again, really excited to see him. He's done really well in his past couple of starts in this series or in this season. So very excited to see what he's going to end up being able to do in this one. The Astros have really kind of been struggling throughout the season. They did throw a no-hitter the other day, a combined no-no, started by Tetsuya Imai, who has been off to a horrible start in his major league career, but had a great outing there. But the Brewers still feeling good. They have been on a really hot stretch here in the month of May, and May is still continuing for another couple of days. So the Brewers currently trading at a 54% chance to win this game on Friday night, meaning a $100 trade pays out $170 on Kalshi if the Brewers end up winning this one. And, might want to get it now because that percentage could end up trekking higher as well. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use this promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10 KALSHI Kalshi trade on anything. All right. If there was a line on Kalshi where you could trade on, will Quinn Priester pitch again this year? I'm going to be putting my money on no, because Quinn Priester continues to struggle here on rehab. So he gets the rehab start on Wednesday night for the Nashville Sounds, and he was slated to go 5 ups. He was slated to go, the 80 to 85 pitch range, I believe it was. As let me double check and confirm here. Slated to go 5 ups, 80 to 85 pitches. He ended up going 2/3 of an inning, 38 pitches. He could not make it out of the first. 3 walks, 3 runs, 18 of his 38 pitches were strikes, so below 50%. And it's just continuing to not improve. And as much as Pat Murphy can tell us that, look, it's going to take time to get that feeling back for pitches, he's got no idea where these baseballs are going. I know, like when you get to 5 ups, when you get to those 80, 85 pitches, you are basically close to being ready to return to the big leagues as a starter and get sent back out there. But just watching him, just the stuff that he has, he is nowhere close to the Brewers being able to trust him to put him out there in a game right now. I mean, and we're reaching the point soon here too, where if you delay surgery much longer, you're going to probably cut into his spring training next season in terms of when he could, return to the mound. So we are really coming close on this decision point here for the Brewers. I understand that Quinn Priester physically may feel fine. He may not feel any pain. But that doesn't mean surgery is probably not the best option at this point. Because it is just not there. The feel for pitches is not there. The longer they continue this, the more they risk him being ready for the start of the 2027 season. Which, who knows, that may still get delayed anyways with the lockout stuff. The Players Union just made their initial proposal. The MLB is going to make theirs coming up today here, so we might get into that on tomorrow's show a little bit. But still, really, Quinn Priester, I think it's time that we got to shut this down because he is not getting any better. You would think that with all this time, it's like, hey, look, it's going to take some time to get that feel to come back. You would think we would at least start to see some progress as these rehab starts have gone along. Remember, his initial timeline was the beginning of this month that he was supposed to come back. And, I mean, we're at the end of May here, and he's still not even close to being ready. And he can't get fully built up because he can't make it through the innings. He can't make it through the first inning to get to 80, 85 pitches because he's at 40 through 1. He can't get 5 ups that way because he can't throw enough strikes. So the stuff is not there. The velocity is not there. And it's time, I think. It's probably past time. I've talked about this previously. I think the Brewers should shut Quinn Priester down. They have not done it yet. They keep throwing him out there. They keep saying, hey, keep pitching. That's the thing. Just got to keep throwing, keep pitching, and it'll eventually come back there. I'm not so sure that it will without the surgery. We have seen players get the surgery and come back stronger and get that feeling back and be good. We have not seen a pitcher rehab thoracic outlet surgery or thoracic outlet syndrome. We have not seen a pitcher rehab that without the surgery. So the Brewers are reaching that decision point here very, very soon. All right. Also, talking about the closer's role here, Trevor McGill got the 9th inning for the finale against the Cardinals, which I'm really not surprised by, given the Abner Uribe situation. Not having Uribe pitch that 9th inning was probably very, very smart. So Trevor McGill gets the 9th inning instead. This is where the Brewers kind of have that embarrassment of riches in the back end of the bullpen. But they go with Trevor McGill. And McGill, this is his second save opportunity since mid-April. He had one against the Twins about 2 weeks ago. And it's like, okay, that one, well, he's got 2 saves then in the month of May. I asked Pat Murphy, I was like, hey, look, are we going to see McGill more regularly back in that 9th inning closer's role, or is it kind of a one-off? And Pat Murphy said, it's like, no, it's not really a one-off. And just kind of goes into, it's like, oh yeah, he's got the experience back there and things like that. He didn't necessarily commit to Trevor McGill being the closer going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if McGill got a lot of those closing opportunities going forward, just because with Abner Uribe having that emotional outburst that he had, it wouldn't surprise me if Murphy wanted to demote him a little bit from such a high leverage role and go with Trevor McGill instead, because McGill's a very strong option as well. McGill has pitched a whole lot better since his April issues that he had. He reached 100 miles an hour for the first time this season during the game on Wednesday. Final pitch of the game. Got the crowd all amped up, juiced up. So he reached back and was able to get a little more on that fastball. He's very excited about it when I mentioned that to him. So it's a good thing for Trevor McGill to have him back on track, and for the Brewers to have him to go to in the 9th inning. So I kind of hope that Trevor McGill's back in that closer's role. I think he does really, really well there, and I think he makes a ton of sense to be that guy going forward, especially with Ashby kind of being in the doghouse in a little bit here over the past couple of days. So we'll see what happens when the next save situation arrives, if Pat Murphy goes back to Trevor McGill, or if he goes to Abner Uribe for that spot. So time will tell, but Coleman Crow gets a start on Friday. The Brewers have the off day on Thursday here, so we'll find out more as that goes along on Friday, and what the plans are for Quinn Priester and for all these things, because it is certainly a situation over there. But we'll be covering it all here on Brewers Daily, so be sure to subscribe and get notified every single time a new episode drops. Follow me on Twitter as well, at dgasper24. Appreciate all of you watching and enjoying, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.